Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be looking at example 2 from the apportionment example supplemental worksheet I posted. Example 2 deals with 6 new states. You can see here we have our table with our state and population. They want us to find how many seats we would have with just standard rounding, and then how many we would have with Hamilton's method. Either way we do this, we're going to have to find our standard divisor and the standard quota for each state. So I'm going to use Excel to do that. You can see I've already got my data into my Excel file. I've turned my table vertically instead of horizontally. It's just because that's the way I like to work with it, especially when I'm doing totals. So the first thing I'm going to do is find the total of my population for all my states. Using Excel, we're going to do equals sum, and then highlight those cells above, end our parentheses, and hit enter. So our total population looks like 12,500,000. So then for our standard divisor, we're going to take that total and divide it by our number of our seats. And our number of seats was 250. So I'm going to do equals, and I'm going to do that total. I selected that cell, divided by, and since I've already got 250 in my Excel file, I'm just going to click on that cell. So B8 in my case divided by G1 will give me my standard divisor of 50,000. Now you could do this using your calculator, that's fine. Okay. Next we're going to do our standard quotas. So to do that I have to divide each population by that divisor. So equals, and I'm going to click on that cell, in my case that's B2, and divide by, and I'm going to type in 50,000. And the reason I'm going to type that in is because I'm going to use this formula over and over again, and to be able to drag it down I need to actually have that number in there. So to do that, I'm going to go over here where I have a little plus sign, and I'm going to drag that formula down that I created. And that'll copy what I did up here, and I'll just use the other cells. So for example, if I clicked on the one for E, notice it used B6 and still divided by that standard divisor to give me the standard quota for that one. Okay. So now using regular rounding, we are going to do our apportionment. So for our state A, we'd end up with 33. State B, 139, because 7 is going to round it up. C will just be 3. D will get 42. E will get 14. And F will get 20, because that 7 will also round up. Okay. Now what happens when we do this, and the reason we don't use standard rounding when we're doing apportionment usually, is because we end up giving either too many or too few seats. So with our standard rounding here, if I added up that column, equals sum, highlight that, we get 251. Okay, so that's too many seats, so then I've got to go back in and take one away from somebody. And usually there are arguments with states about who's going to lose that. So that's why we have all the different methods for apportionment. In 043 we're going to focus on Hamilton's, and you'll see others in 143. Okay, so let's look at Hamilton's method now, and we'll see how we give out those remaining seats. And you can see in mine I have 2 columns here that your 143 instructor is not going to have. They're not required. It just helps me keep track of things. Okay, so our standard quotas are going to be the same, so I'm actually just going to copy all that information. So I highlighted it, and then I'm going to copy it and just paste it down here. Oh, I need to change that number though. 250. Okay, and so you can see all my standard quotas are the same. Okay, So the quota minimum is what happens when we cut it off. We don't do any rounding, we just write the whole number as is. So the minimum quota for state A would be 32, B 138, C 3, D 41, E 13, and F 19. Okay. Now with Hamilton's method, we're going to use the remainder part to figure out who gets the extra seats. Okay, because if I add this up right now, that's not 250. So in fact, I'm going to have to go ahead and do that. Equals sum, and add up that column. You can see that's 246. So we have 4 more seats we can give out. So with Hamilton's method, it goes to whoever has the highest remainders. So I need my remainders. So the remainder for state A would be 0.92, state B 0.72, and if you wanted Excel to do this, you could. You can do equals and then the standard quota minus the minimum will give you that remainder, and then I can just copy that down without having to type it over and over again. Okay, so then looking at those remainders, that tells me who gets seats. So the highest one is state A, so they're going to get 1 seat. Okay, and remember we have 4 to give out, so I'm going to go ahead and do a sum here so I know when I get to 4. Okay, now for this one, since it's such a little list, yeah, I would know when I get to 4, but when we have like 12 or 13 or even 50 states, having that sum is very helpful. Okay, so the next highest would be D, so they're going to get 1. Let's see, next I believe is F, so they get 1, and then B would get 1. So that gives out my 4 seats, so 246 plus 4 will give me 250. So now I can add up and find out how many each gets from Hamilton's. So using the minimum plus the remainder, so A would get 33, B 139, C doesn't get an extra one, they stay at 3, D 42, E in this case is not going to get an extra one, even though if we rounded they would, but using Hamilton method they're going to stay at 13, and then F would get an extra one, so they'll be at 20. And if I did that correctly, when I add those up, I should get 250. Yay, I did. For Hamilton's method, using his apportionment, those would be the number of seats each person would get. So here in this case, E wouldn't get that extra seat. In fact, up here he probably wouldn't either, because they would have to go back and take it away, because there's only 250. They're not going to make an extra one. But this helps us figure out who gets each additional seat. Okay, so hopefully this helps you with your apportionment. If you have questions, you can post them in the help please discussion board post, or you can email me. Have a great day.